Okay, folks, so this week's course, I may have a little trouble getting through this because I'm having a little trouble with the wind here. And the sun and the wind here in California today. It is a late October day at the beach here. I'm sitting at the beach. And it is bright as heck. Yesterday, it was actually warm. It was 30 degrees C, according to my phone. So it was like 85 in the sun. But it is actually a good 15 degrees colder in the shade. So one of the problems I've had here today is that if you're in the shade, you get hit by this cold air, relatively cold air, and if you're in the sun, you get baked, and the cold air isn't really even cold. So I'm dealing with this California phenomenon today in a big way. But today's course is Rancho San Diablo. No. Let's go back and look at it again. I was just looking at it. Rancho San Marcos golf course. And I usually start with that, but today there's a little variety because we are in California and it is the serious West Coast phenomenon. Today, actually, this weekend, Los Angeles is having some serious wildfires. Here, up by Santa Barbara, the wind today has been very mellow, if any wind at all. I mean, there has been some, but it's been a mellow kind of breeze. There's another truck driving by. I'm right on the beach road, so I can't, say there won't be any truck noise. So essentially, the problem is that it has not rained here for like a month, literally, or more, and it's already dry and desert as it is. The problem is the slightest spark or whatever that lands in this grassland on the shore, and like huge sections of the grass go up in flames. When I drove through on the way up here, it had just they had fires on Mulholland, and I was on Mulholland trying to drive through on the way up here, and sections of Mulholland were actually closed down, which was very disappointing because I had been looking forward to driving it for a long time. But I drove about 90% of it, except this one little section that's kind of infamous on the internet in the motorcycle community, was shut down. But it was fun to ride. And so now I came up here in the last couple of weeks, and now Los Angeles is having even more fires. Like now, it's like literally coming up the coast, up, I guess it's 460 or something that comes up from San Marino and comes up. The part that I rode through the other day, which was east of the part where they were having fires before on Mulholland, is now having fires big time. So anyway, so now we're up the coast about 250 miles up here past Santa Barbara. And the course I played, Rancho San Marcos, is on the grounds of a former mission. There's a mission that was up here that somehow, I don't know how, it got buried, is now being excavated as an archaeological excavation. And they have a golf course which is near there. And the golf course has sort of a split personality. Now, I want to say it is a good course. It has its pros and its cons, and I will say that one of the big pros it has is that it has at least the back nine has some real serious verticality. It's not quite as bad as it could be considering the layout, but it certainly isn't flat, okay? The thing is that this is another case where this is a canyon in the hills. I guess these are low hills. Maybe the highest hill here is maybe 1,500, 2,000 yards off over sea level. But it is another canyon in the hills, and there's actually a big sort of big recreational lake area off to the northwest of this course. The course is on Route 156 east of Bulletin, which is off 101. So you come from 101, you come down the coast and up towards Vandenberg Air Force Base, towards San Francisco, and then you take a right and go east, and there's a highway, 156, that goes between Santa Maria and Santa Barbara. Now, the thing is that this course is on 156, and that is a con, because the course has about 3/4 of the holes that are within easy earshot of 156, and 156 has a fair amount of traffic. It is a 2-lane highway. It's one of the major roads here, and it runs alongside this lake area. And the lake area, I guess this is another highway here. I'm looking at the map towards Bakersfield, which is 5. Yeah, 5 comes back in Los Angeles from the northwest. So so this area, this lake area, which I'm pulling up on my map as I speak here, is a somewhat significant lake area because it's one of the few areas around here where there's actual serious body of water. Really just anywhere southwest of 5 before you get to the ocean. But there are a bunch of these hills and stuff, and it's like, really nice looking and stuff. And it's wine country, it's pot country, it's agriculture, basically down in those valleys. So in this particular case, what happened was, before they dammed up this area to create this lake, there was a small river that ran by the highway, which is where the mission is. The mission was at this highway, at this small river, and then eventually it got pushed aside as more and more travelers came through, and they developed this Route 156 and so on. And so now what you have is the mission. The top of the mission is really at the bottom of the upper part of the course. The upper part of the course is really the back 9, and except for the 10th fairway and green, the rest of the course is up the side of this very steep mountain hill. I guess really it's maybe about 500 feet up, and you play essentially holes 11 through 18 on the side of this hill, the steep hill. So that part of the course is actually a pretty good challenge. There's no question about that. The front part of the course is not really a challenge. The front, this is one of those cases where the front 9 is kind of easy compared to the back. Certainly in this course, that's true. And what happened here is that you play the front 9, and it's long, it's decently tight, and it has a fair amount of woods and waste on both sides of the fairway, and it's a fair good challenge, especially from the back tees. And what you find out is that, and what I found out is when I played the front 9, I felt like I had played the front 9, but I played like 12 or 13 holes. I mean, it was actually pretty tough, considering the tightness of the tee shots and so forth, and the approach shots. But it wasn't really hard. It was just, you had to be careful to hit your shots and play. There's no question about that. I wouldn't call it hard though, but I would definitely call it a challenge. Now it was still a little bit of a letdown to me because it was largely flat. So the thing is, by the time we'd gotten through playing that first 9, I felt, I thought 9 was over 2 or 3 holes ago, and now we're like 12 or 13. No, unfortunately, I was just tired from the heat and the sun. And here's another truck. And what I found was the back 9 was much more vertical, not a lot tighter, but certainly harder, but not really tougher a lot tougher. And it was an interesting challenge, sort of dichotomy between the front and back sides, where it's more vertical, but that doesn't mean it's harder. It doesn't mean it's easier, but it doesn't mean it's harder. Now, I will say that I did play the backside pretty well. It took me about 4 or 5 holes to warm up, really. On the front side, a little tight. We were rushing. It kind of had to settle things down, and the guys behind us were literally right on our tails the whole time. So it was a little bit of a challenge. And what I found was that I was able to manage the fact that it was tight, and reasonably able to manage the fact that it was long. But what really gave me trouble on this course was the greens. The greens were lightning fast, especially on the front side. They were a short, like billiard table, smooth, really cut down. And I swear to God, all you had to do was and they had good action on them too. There's a fair amount of swales and so forth on the green. And without a doubt, all you had to do was just, brush the ball and then go rolling. It's just, they were seriously fast greens. So that was a challenge on the front side. On the back, they weren't quite so fast. Like they'd been watered down a little bit. They'd been grown a little bit longer, and they were just fast. They were certainly a little softer than the front side, and more normal, let's put it that way. But the makeup on the backside was that the course was definitely more vertical and tighter, and more of a challenge off the tee from tee to green. So I thought it was a really interesting dilemma. I thought the front side would really make a nice kind of average course. Average course, except for the greens, were definitely fast. And of course here, they tend to be drier, okay, than normal greens would be. So they have to really, water the course here in California, at least on this side of the California desert, which is the whole West Coast, basically. So long story short story more interesting. Again, another course with fast greens. The front 9 was fairly flat and moderately challenging. Definitely you had to, often choose between hitting an iron and hitting a driver just to get the ball out in play because it was so tight off the tee. And a lot of times I had to go out in the waist, and luckily the waist wasn't very tall or very thick. I had to go out in the waist and play my ball back in. So it was a matter of not losing the ball off to one side where the waist was really thick and there was like a cliff and stuff, and you could see over the side, down the side of a hill, or on the other side of the fairway where it was more like a bowl and there was some waste and so forth, but it was already matted down for people walking there, and thin in the first place because there wasn't a lot of water, and you could actually go out there and play your ball out. So a lot of the course is a very intelligent choice of what side of the fairway to try to hit. And then the second thing is actually not slicing your ball by mistake because you're trying to pull the shot off to the left and you end up slicing it to the right. And also dealing with the wind. The back 9 was definitely a step up in terms of the interestingness of the course, in terms of the difficulty of the course, in terms of the approach shots, beautiful shots, beautiful scenery, but still 10 and 11 and maybe 17 were still exposed to that road noise coming off of 156. Almost the entirety of the front side was exposed to the road noise coming off of 156. And I would say that was the major problem with the course. There were no houses on the course at all. Okay, the only downside I really saw to playing this course was the fact that there was a fair amount of road noise from traffic on that 2-lane road, 156, that went by the course. And it was a beautiful day, lots of traffic. It's a 60-mile-an-hour road. It's the same kind of thing where you have on a lot, just any kind of road that's near a highway, even if it's a back road, but there's still fast traffic on it, you just go as they go by the course. And it just is distracting. It's tiring. I really don't like it. I mean, I'm sitting here next to this road. There's a guy driving by. This guy's doing maybe 15 miles an hour. Okay, so he came up the hill, and you could hear his engines. He came up the hill, and then he stopped, and he's pulling up behind me. So, if he wasn't one of those guys who was pulling up behind me, you could hear him just drive by at 25 miles an hour and so forth. You could hear it all nicely in the headphones. That does get old. So, you know, he's backing up. You can hear that. That does get old when you're playing golf. You're trying to concentrate. It's already tough. And you're trying to play golf, and you just hear this woof, 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 woof. It wasn't so bad, but at the same time, I still say it was distracting. That was really what I would say was the only real distraction on this course. Now, having said that, it was a good course. It was solid. I would have said it was about a 145 course, but the course scorecard says that it's 135. I would have said it's about 7,000 yards, but the course scorecard says that it's 6,800 yards from the back tees. And I played from the very, very, very back of the tees. Often they weren't even marked, so that I thought they were like championship or tournament tees. The black tees were well ahead of these tees in many places, especially like on the front hole. They were, you know, the very back tee box was back across the car path, and then another 50 yards back from there, where the black tees were in front of the cart path and maybe 20 yards behind the white tees. It's like the black tees they had out were actually blue tees on most courses. So anyway, I still give this course, I have to give it a B+. I don't think it was that great of a course on the front. It just wasn't. It was tight, but I wouldn't call it a great course. I would say the back was nice. The back was very nice. But I still wouldn't say that was a great course. I think overall it was a B+ course, and I will stick with that. And what's the name of the course again? We have to look at, here comes the car at normal speed. Rancho Diablo. No. What's it called? Let's see here. We'll edit a lot of this down. Rancho San Marcos. One thing I will say is it was $75 with a cart on a Friday afternoon at 12 o'clock. And they were like, that's the twilight price. And I'm like, oh Jesus. Okay, well, I guess I'll pay it. Just northwest of Santa Barbara by about 20 miles in California. A B+ course, solid B+ course. A good course. It was a good, entertaining course. It just wasn't as much fun to play as the course I played last week, which was La Purisima, I think. This is Rancho San Marcos in Santa Barbara, California.